Okay, 3 baits for fishing in muddy water. I'm going to start with my least favorite. Everybody probably knows this one. It is a jig, black and blue jig. This is actually a black and purple skirt with a black and blue craw. Works really well in rocky areas, thick cover. Weed guard helps keep it from getting snagged. Everybody knows about this. It works pretty good, but is actually my least favorite of these three. My second favorite bait is actually this spinner bait, which is this particular one's Fire Tiger. If you're in a lake that doesn't have a lot of bluegill and they're feeding mostly on shad, you really want to just go with a stark white spinner bait. One important feature is this spinner bait has an Indiana blade, which is kind of in between the Colorado and the willow blade, but it tracks well. And it stays down pretty deep relative to a Colorado blade, but still has that easier rotation than a willow blade, so you can run it slower. So this is a really good spinner bait for running just off the bottom in and around thick cover, which you really want to stay around cover when you're sorry, my battery thing is freaking out on me. You want to stay around cover, because when the water gets muddy, the fish aren't going to be out in open water. They're just going to be right on the bottom, ledges, stumps, trees, bushes, whatever cover they can feel to butt up against, so they kind of know where they're at. And my favorite bait actually is a soft plastic stick bait. I like to fish this on a drop shot rig if I'm fishing in relatively open water around rocks and ledges. And a Texas rig if I'm fishing it around brush or trees with a lot of sticks sticking out of them. When I do use a drop shot rig with this, I don't fish it in the normal way. I usually fish it with a relatively short leader, and I say relatively short, it's a 5-inch bait. I use about a 10 or 12-inch leader. If you're using a small bait, 10 or 12 inches might actually be kind of a long leader for a small bait, but this is a pretty large bait for drop shot. So 12 inches will still keep that bait in the strike zone. When they're holding tight to the bottom, they'll still be able to see that with a 12-inch leader. If you go up to like 18, 24 inches and you're moving that thing up and down well off the bottom, they're not going to be able to hone in on it as well, because all they're really sensing is that vibration from the body of that moving through the water. The other thing I don't do is I don't pop it and let it fall. I actually almost just hold it in one spot and shake it, because they're going to hone in on that vibration coming from that through the water. If you're popping it, letting it flutter, that's a great technique for clear water. They're looking for that dying bait fish action. But in muddy water, they're not going to see it. They're going to feel it. So you really want to sit there and shake it so that it's just vibrating there in the water column. They're going to feel that and be able to hone in on it. Since it's not moving a great distance through the water, they're going to be able to zero in on where that vibration is coming from. This catches big fish, not very many. If you can get one of these in front of a fish in muddy water, I almost guarantee you're going to eat it. They're not going to be able to see it from very far away, so you're going to have to fish slow. You're going to have to really work an area, but this will catch fish just about anywhere in muddy water if you can get it in front of them. I do prefer to start off with spinnerbait most days, just to cover some water and figure out where they're at. But once I start sticking a few on the spinnerbait, I'll really slow down and I'll start working them with the soft plastics. And if you're fishing around heavy brush, yeah, go traditional. Go with this. You're fishing around a lot of thick cover where you can't get your spinnerbait to weave through it. Slow down. Go ahead and work it with the jig. But in my experience, the bright colored spinnerbait and the black or any kind of dark glittery stick bait actually outfish the jig in most places in California. I know a lot of places back in the Midwest actually they make their money on the jig, but out here seems like the finesse baits and the spinner baits will outfish the jig in most of the waters that I fish in anyway. So I just wanted to give you my thoughts on that, and I might be coming out with some other 3 baits videos in the future. Let me know what you think. Thanks.